r/AskReddit by Redmond Dtes. What is the most Karen thing a Karen has ever done to you personally? I deliver appliances for Best Buy. We had a woman call and complain that her fridge was not pre-cooled before it was delivered and that she had to wait for it to come down to temperature. No one in the office was prepared for that one. When I worked at the Home Depot, a Karen told me that she didn't want any black men to install her flooring. I was in charge of arranging her order and told her that we don't select which individuals exactly will install her floor and that she'll get who she gets. She proceeds to have a fit about it, demands white installers, asks to speak to my manager. I'm so glad she did, because my manager's name was Dwayne, and he was a real big black dude. Turns out she didn't want to speak to the manager. Told me I couldn't work on my car in my own garage at noon because she didn't want my fast looking car to influence her sons to be hooligans like you. That I needed to leave the gym because I made her son feel like only fat people go to the gym. When I worked at a bakery, Karen bought a chocolate cupcake and ate half of it. Karen then asked if she could return her half-eaten chocolate cupcake. Not because she didn't like it, but because she wanted to exchange it for half of a vanilla cupcake, something less decadent. Like most bakeries, we did not sell cupcakes by the half. She became offended when I asked if she wanted to purchase a vanilla cupcake. When I was working retail, this one woman had a big bag of coupons. Most of them were unusable because either they were expired or they were duplicates. She berated me because the system was rejecting most of the coupons. She called me stupid amongst other names, telling me I just wasn't doing it right. Then, as a typical Karen would, she asked to speak with my manager. My manager came and asked what the problem was. The woman ranted about how incompetent I was because I didn't know how to scan a coupon. My manager looked at the coupons, and the coupons were the problem, not me. My manager bitched out the customer for being disrespectful for me and told the customer to leave the store. I hated working there, but I'm so grateful that I had managers that totally didn't go by the customer is always right rule and weren't afraid to stand up for their employees. That was just one of many incidents. When I worked at a popular arcade chain, I had a Karen absolutely berating me because I wouldn't give her kid a prize they didn't win. So she wants a manager, and when my manager comes over, she straight-faced this bitch's whole rant until Karen goes, "Whatever happened to the customer's always right." And my manager leans in a little and goes, "We don't have customers here, we have guests." Customers always right, guests are usually wrong. Goodbye, and waved a security guard over to escort Karen out. Best day of work ever. Worked at a grocery store, and a co-worker put a 99-cent sticker on my shirt. We were 2 of maybe 5 employees, so we were all good friends, and everything is funny when you got a pastime on a shift, so I just left it there. Some woman came through my line and asked me why I had a sticker on my shirt, and I just kinda laughed it off. She asked if I thought it was funny, and I was like, not really, but sort of. She asked if my co-worker put it there, to which I responded yes. She told me she was going to speak to the store owner, cause it was disrespectful to behave that way at work. She told me to call my manager, and I did, but he was a super cool guy and knew this lady was a fucking idiot. She talked to the store owner and my manager about firing me to no avail. She accomplished nothing and was a cunt. The end. Came up to my register and asked for the price of a protein bar. Every item in the store had a physical price tag because we didn't have scanners at the register. I took it from her, flipped it over, and let her know it was $2.49 before tax. She asked me how much the case would be. Normally we did discounts for cases, but they had to be ordered ahead of time, so I started explaining we couldn't do a discount unless she cut me off aggressively and hissed, "I didn't ask for a discount." So I typed in 2.49 times 12, added tax, and told her the final price. She stared me down for a few minutes before asking me to get my manager. Once my manager arrived, she spent literally 10 minutes tearing into me, describing me as the least helpful person ever, talking about my bad attitude, complaining about how awful and rude I was, etc. etc. I was working nearly full time, 35.5 hours per week, and commuting to a school over an hour away 4 days a week. This lady took the time out of her day to break me down to the point I started crying. Thanks Karen, I still remember you. Hope you enjoyed your fucking protein bar. Can Americans pretty please include tax in the price? Everyone else does it. They can't. Like everything else about their insane country, their sales tax varies from state to state, and even from county to county, or fucking town to town. So it's too complicated and time consuming to bother. This is how an American explained it on Facebook. Asked for my manager's personal cell phone number to complain that I, 7 months pregnant at the time, would not carry a refrigerator that she had not paid for in the cost of her room up to her second story room. We did not have an elevator rather than just accept an upgrade for free because she didn't want to unpack her stuff. She refused to believe we had rooms without fridges and I was just being fat and lazy. When I refused to give her the cell phone number, she asked for corporate's number. I wrote it down on a sticky note with a smiley face. She came down later and asked to move rooms. I made her pay the difference. Left her card in the FPOS machine at the McDonald's I was managing as a teenager, rang me to say I needed to drive it out to her, that I ruined her night, ruined her family's night, owed her free food, and that she'll be laying a formal complaint when I refused all of the above. She showed up 3/4 of an hour later with steam blowing out her ears asking for her card back. Last we heard from her. I used to work at a fast food in a theme park when I was 18. Karen held up the line cause she was demanding us to assemble a food for her daughter, which we aren't allowed to do cause we go by a menu. My daughter can't have that. Well, what can you do for me? Do you want her to starve? Are one of the most irritating lines I ever encountered. Working retail one afternoon, and here comes Karen with a return. At first glance it's no big deal, just coming in to return a shirt. She walks up to the register, hands me the receipt to start processing, and we exchange a pleasant greeting. I take the shirt out of the bag to examine it, and it is beyond disgusting. There were brown sweat stains all over it, from the pits to the stomach to the shoulder. It looked like whoever wore it rolled in mud or some nonsense. I proceed to tell Karen that I cannot return the product because it had clearly been used and that only unused and reusable items could be returned. Karen threw a fit, started screaming at me and accusing me of calling her a liar and whatnot. I hold up the shirt and point to the brown pit stains and say, Karen, can't you see this stain? Oh man, did that make it worse. She continues making a huge scene and demands to see the manager. Newsflash Karen, I'm the manager, and I'm not budging. After 20 or so minutes of complaining, she finally leaves, saying she'll be complaining to corporate and getting me fired, and blah blah blah. Fast forward a few days. A guy walks into the store, finds the first store associate he can, and immediately asks for me by name. Oh, here we go again. Anyway, my associate brings the guy over to where I'm standing, and I politely greet him. The guy spends the next 10 minutes apologizing for his crazy wife Karen verbally abusing my staff and I a few days prior. Apparently, the guy went to the beach and did some type of CrossFit or high intensity interval training class in the sand. Karen knows all of this, she was at the class with him. The guy ended up not liking the shirt for some reason, and Karen thought she could pull a fast one on us by making a scene. Think again, Karen. I met plenty of Karens while working retail, but there's one who stands out. Karen was Indian and had the most entitled attitude of anyone I've ever met. She was also a regular customer, so we had to deal with her shit at least twice a week. Karen's favorite pastime would be to literally fill a trolley with clearance items. These are a nightmare, as you have to reduce the price on the till manually. Management were worried about scanning fraud, and so had disabled the multiplication button on the till. This meant that each item has to be scanned and discounted individually. Once all of her items had been scanned and discounted, Karen would always kick up a fuss over the price, accusing us of overcharging her and demanding to see a manager. Some managers would give in to Karen, which meant voiding the transaction and starting over. If they told Karen to get lost, she'd complain about never shopping here again and storm out, leaving a full trolley of goods to put back. Thanks bitch. Either way, the entire shit show would take at least an hour. There was a nice moment of calm for Karen however. One winter, we had an especially heavy snowstorm. Our policy in this case is to clear the car park access to the spaces closest to the door. We do this as very few people come out when it's snowing, and it lets people park as close as possible. Not Karen though, oh no. She pulls into the car park, drives into the uncleared section and tries to drive through a snowdrift, hitting a covered bollard in the process. She then clomps into the store, demands to see the manager, and proceeds to yell at him point blank. Apparently she was going to sue us and get every employee fired for not clearing her usual parking space of snow. Our manager responded by banning her from our store for being abusive towards staff. I used to work retail, so I have come across my fair share of Karens. They were a huge reason why I went back to school and no longer work as a cashier. Anyways, one day while I was manning the registers with a few other co-workers of mine, I had a massive nosebleed right as I was finishing a transaction. I grabbed a tissue and quickly excused myself to run to the restroom so I could try to get it to stop bleeding. This meant that I couldn't say goodbye to Karen and give the little spiel about how I was oh so grateful for her shopping with us. Anyways, after about 10 minutes, I was finally able to get my nose back under control and headed back to the registers. I saw her waiting to the side with a scowl on her face, arms crossed over her chest, the whole 9 yards. She proceeded to scold me about how rude I was for not saying goodbye. After I apologized and explained that I had an unexpected nosebleed, she told me I should have tried holding it in and that the customer comes first. My brain was literally after that. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more. Have a nice evening.